Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Okay, so you can see the tower of stamps I've got going on over here. I've got my Misty out, I've got some paper. We're gonna have a bit of stampy play today. And the idea is we are gonna create some stamped belly bands for our journals. And so I'll explain why I went through. I've got out a piece of white cardstock, gray cardstock. This is a tea-dyed cardstock and a light blue cardstock. And I marked lines on them. And so I'll explain in a minute why I did that. And this was inspired by, if you watched Monday's mass make video, I did the stencil-y stamped clusters. So when I did this one, it sparked an idea, and kind of this one as well, for doing stamped belly bands. So this is the inspiration for what we're gonna do here. We're gonna do some Christmas ones, we're gonna do some non-Christmas ones. So I've got out a ridiculous number of stamps. I also have out my thing that's got a bunch of clear stamps. So these are like my creative expressions and stamp Poole. I've got, this is a Studio Light stamp that I think I may use on one or two of them just as a faint background. A bunch of Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous, and my darkroom door. I will leave a list down below. I'm not going to be too precious about making sure I name all of them as I go, because otherwise we're going to be here 3 days, and because there are a lot of stamps. So let me clear off the stamps and move them to the side. I've got out my Misty just because it'll enable me to restamp stuff if they don't stamp perfectly the first time. You don't have to use a Misty, and there may be a few that I do that I want it to look a little grungier, and I'm not going to really use the double stamping property of the Misty, that, you know, it enables me to restamp the same spot over and over again until I get an impression I like. So I want to have that option, but I may not always use it, but it's there so I can if I want to. And I need to clear off some space so that I can have my stamps accessible. So let me do that. Okay, so I've marked lines on my paper, and what I did was I came about a 1/2 inch in, put a line, then did 1.5 inches over, then a 1/2 inch, then 1.5 inches. And that's because I want my belly bands to be about 1.5 inches wide, but I also want to be able to stamp some of them going off that line and have it be a little irregular. So what I'll do when I'm done stamping is fussy cut out, so if there's like overhang, and I'm beginning to think I should have done more of a gap between the two, and actually as I'm looking at this I'm going, that 1/2 inch is really skinny between the two, and I've got room, so I think I'm gonna go back and remark mine and put more of 1 inch between, because I've got plenty of room over here, because I don't want to have to worry so much about getting overlap. So I'll be back again. All right, so I've gone in and remarked all of the lines on my papers so that there's 1 inch between the two belly bands I'm planning on stamping. Okay, so let me explain to you why it is I put lines on my piece of paper. And this is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper cut down in half. So it's 8.5 going this way and 5.5 going this way. Just because I figured that was going to be easier to work with than a full-size sheet, and also because that size will fit in my Misty. So what I did was I marked in 1/2 inch from the edge, then 1.5 inches from that line. Then I put 1 inch space between this belly band and this belly band, 1.5 inches again, and then that's just what's left over. And the reason I did that is because I want my belly bands to be about 1.5 inches wide. But I didn't want to just cut strips, because I want to have the option to have pieces hang over, and so have an irregular edge to the belly band. So some may be just straight, smooth edges, and some I may have bits sticking out here and there. And so I wanted that as an option. So that's why I did it this way. And what I'm going to start with is that Studio Light long scripty stamp, and I'm going to use Distress Oxide old paper for it. So for my stamping, I'm going to use mostly Distress Oxides and Distress Inks, just because I like the colors and they're the easiest ones I have to hand, and why not? But you can use whatever inks you like. If I had more VersaFine Clair colors, I might use those, because those are going to get nice crisp impressions. I'm also going to use my little stamp tool that helps get a smooth, even pressure across my stamped image. And I'm looking just for this to be very much backgroundy for this one, and I did get it very backgroundy. Like, that was the whole idea. I did not want it intense in your face. We're gonna stamp over on top of this one. So let's set that stamp aside. And I think I'm gonna go Christmas with this one. And so the idea here is I'm just gonna stamp stuff like all over, all going down my thing. And just do mostly rectangles and squares for this one. And let's go, I'm gonna do this one in red. I'm gonna use Lumberjack Plaid, Distress Oxide. See, and I think I want that one darker. So that's the benefit of a Misty. So I'm gonna do that like that. And then I want to find something to go that way. So let's find a stamp that's gonna work that. Let's do, I've got Mail Early for Christmas. So that'll go on like so. I have a feeling that I'm going to not enjoy editing this video because I'm going to be speeding stuff up and cutting things out as I futz around with stuff that, like cleaning stamps and changing stamps and all of that. Let's ink that one again because I think I want this one to be like intense red. Like I want the reds to really show and pop. So we've got that. I'm just cleaning it off on a scratch piece of paper, and I will probably come back and like thoroughly clean these guys because if you leave distress inks on stamps, you might end up getting different colors than intended when you go to stamp again and add new ink. All right, I'm also gonna grab my Darkroom Door Merry Mail one. I think I'm gonna do Santa's airmail down there. And I think I want this guy for here. And I think they're the same thickness, so I'll be able to stamp both at the same time. We shall see. Looking at it, they may not be. I may have to go back and stamp them separately. I think the Darkroom Door, the foam part seems to be about the same, but the stamp seems thicker. Oh, no, that worked. And that is not the right color. I'm gonna take off the Santa Airmail one and just restamp this guy one more time to get that 24 fully on there. Now I'm gonna use one that's not necessarily a Christmas stamp just to add something a little different, and then I want some numbers, I think. And I feel like I need another one over here, so we're gonna use this special delivery. All right, that one is done. I think I'm gonna keep this one a Christmas sheet and do this side and do greens. We are going to stamp this lightly for a background. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Distress Oxide Rustic Wilderness. But before stamping, I am going to take a sheet of scratch paper and stamp it off so that it's lighter, and then stamp on here. So it's more backgroundy with a few spots that are darker. So that will be very interesting when we go and stamp over it. I'm going to do it again at the bottom. I think I'm gonna scooch it over. And this I'm not gonna use the Misty for because I can't really put it in there to get the bottom there. All right. Again, I'm gonna stamp it off so that it's not too dark. And I'm gonna just go like so. Ooh, we got a little over there, but we should be all right. So yeah, now I'm gonna fill in, and I'm gonna fill in with greens, and I'm gonna make them more intense by stamping, you know, full on inked. I definitely want this one again. And they're not gonna be in the same journal, so it doesn't matter that on this sheet they're lining up, because we're gonna cut them apart and they won't be when they're used. Now I'm not gonna ink the 8 and the 9. I'm just gonna ink up to the 7. Need something here, something here. I think I might do the order with the star again for down there. There we go, that one's done. All right, I'm gonna have a bit of a cleanup because I got stamps everywhere, and I'll be back and we'll do some more. In order to speed things along, I've pulled out the stamps I wanna use for the next 2 belly bands, and these are gonna be for Halloween journals. So I'm gonna start with the spiderweb stamp from Tim Holtz. That's, the stamp set is Life of the Party CMS 380. And I'm gonna stamp it with, okay. We are going to use Hickory Smoke. I thought I had Lost Shadow and Distress Oxide, but apparently I do not. We'll just use Hickory Smoke because that'll give a nice spooky background. And with this one, I don't mind the fact that I'm going to have some overlapping, but let's do this. So there we've got the background for our belly bands. This one first. We're gonna start by just adding the pieces on, and I think I'll do more than one round of stamping, but I figure we can do a few at a time, speed the process since I've picked everybody out already, and kind of piece them together. Let's see, I'm gonna grab a pencil because if you're having issues with your stamps sticking to your fingers when you're doing something like that, you can use a pencil to kind of push them around and get them placed where you want them. So I'm just gonna pick up those stamps, and I'm using Distress Oxide Villainous Potion. All right, I think we're gonna take off this guy. I'm gonna stamp Destination one more time and the top guy as well. All right, we're gonna adjust things a little bit because I want that guy in the spot where it's clear of the background stamping, because I think that will work out better. So we're just gonna adjust a little bit on the fly. We're doing a little bit of adjusting because this guy's not gonna fit anymore. Probably because I didn't have them as tightly packed. And then something's gonna have to go in there, and I may just stamp the number and just ink that part and not ink the word factory so that I don't have to find another stamp. Go. That one's done. These two are darkroom door stamps, so they're not going to be the same size as the Tim Holtz ones. So let's just go with those three for our first round. All right, those are done. I'm gonna have another cleanup and pull out some stamps for the next ones because yeah, it just goes a little bit faster. And so this video will be not ridiculously long. So I'm gonna go do that and I'll be back. All right, so I've made decisions for the last two. We're just gonna go ahead and get on with stamping. And I think for this one, I am gonna stamp, I've got that Studio Light scripty stamp, and I'm gonna do that one in gray on the tea dyed paper. And I think I'm just gonna do it again over here to make my life easier. Let's see, I'm trying to decide what color I want to stamp on top with, and let's put these guys in place. So I decided to go with some just very square and rectangle for this, straight up. I think we're gonna go Frayed Burlap. And I'm gonna grab some Scorched Timber and add some of that in as well. So we've got some darker spots and some lighter spots. All right, let's pull off the ones that we're all good with and restamp this one and this one more time, these two one more time. There we go. Let's shift our magnets over, move these out of the way. And then for this one, I grabbed a bunch of the Tim Holtz Stamp Collector CMS 338. And I think for this one, I'm gonna do some Uncharted Mariner. These stamps are definitely not all the same size. So this is gonna be, probably gonna have to pull some stamps off and restamp because this guy seems thinner than those guys. And I realized what I forgot to do with this was stamp off before stamping it on there, because I'm like, it seems a little darker than the last time I did it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut out all of our belly bands. So there are the two Christmas ones and the Halloweeny ones. And these guys. And then I had a filming mishap with these two. So this one I decided to just do a bunch of signatures. So most of the stamps on here are from the Creative Expressions signatures from the past 1 and 2. And then I decided to change up our shape a little bit and do gears to create some round ones. Now, so what happened is, as I got to the end of doing this one, my alarm to remind me to get up and move went off on my phone. It stopped recording. I thought I started it up again and went on and did these, and apparently I did not. So sorry, I did not record these. Now this was me just stamping straight up, so nothing interesting really there, so I don't think you desperately need to see another one after seeing all of these. But I wanted to show you how I got this effect on these stamps, since I did do something a little bit different for them. So I'm just gonna do one little sample to show you how I did those. All right, so this is what I did to get that two-toned effect. So here's a piece of scrap paper I cut off when I was trimming out the belly band. I've got one of my gear stamps. And what I did was I took some Rusty Hinge Distress Oxide ink and kind of haphazardly applied it, not fully, to the image. Stamped. And I think for the Rusty Hinge, ended up going back and doing it a second time just to get a little bit more color in. Stamped. Spritzed to wash it off although I wasn't particular about getting it completely dry because I noticed there were a few, like this one clearly it was wet. Applied some Uncharted Mariner. Stamped again, and that's how I got the two-tone look going for those gears. So that is an option if you want to get some additional colors in, and I think I may do a little bit more. Oh, I grabbed the Rusty Hinge and not the Uncharted Mariner, but that's fine too. So yeah, I just did that until I was happy with how they looked. So that's how I got those the two-tone look for the gears. I put multiple inks on it. And I will say I was inspired to do this by a recent video I saw by Margaret over at Seven Plaza. And all these gear stamps and the gear stamps on here and stuff are very old Stampendous stamps. I have no idea what stamp set they came from, but that's where those are from. Let's bring back our belly bands. So we've got, and what I will probably do when I put these on into a journal on a project is add possibly a focal image to it. Like I was thinking for one of these, I've got some flowers die cut out of black, so I might put one of those on there. But yeah, you can then dress these up. And I know I've got some white spots at the bottom, but I figured I'd leave those until I put it in a journal and either trim it down or maybe fold it over to give more dimension to the belly band. But that was a decision I can make then. And I do need to go back in with an eraser and very carefully erase my pencil marks where you can see them. So there are some spots where you can see the pencil marks, others where you can't. So yeah, definitely need to go back and do that on these guys. But I think I'm gonna call that done for today. So if you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting!